Manchester City just spent a British transfer record, 116 million on Elliot Anderson. Pundits like Jamie Carragher predicted that he would become an incredible partner to Rodri. They would form a formidable partnership. But there is one problem, because Rodri is leaving. So City's biggest signing is about to lose the exact partner and the exact profile he was bought to play alongside before he's even played any single minute with him. So there is a new manager with a record signing, but with a gap that just opened up overnight. I think Enzo Maresca already knows who fills it. Someone he has coached before, someone he's trust, and a player that just had the World Cup of his life. Stick around, because I'll show you how this signing isn't about replacing Rodri. It's about protecting the biggest investment this club ever made. Look, if you asked most fans whether Enzo Fernandez deserves another 100 million transfer, you'd probably guess mixed answers, because again, at Chelsea he's had inconsistent seasons. Real Madrid have circled around for a long time, and he hasn't really lived up to the price tag. That's what most of the people would say, but I genuinely think that's not the question today, because again, the quality of the player is undeniable. We have all watched him at the World Cup. He was probably one of the best midfielders at this World Cup, and there is an issue with Enzo Fernandez because he has looked unsettled at Chelsea. He has floated with Real Madrid for a long time, but unfortunately for him, Real Madrid would rather buy another winger rather than buying a midfielder, which should be their priority. So let's see where Enzo Fernandez would fit, and I actually think Enzo Maresca needs a midfielder who will replace Rodri. Not replace in terms of the same profile. No one can really replace Rodri in terms of profile. I don't think that there is a player that has the same profile as Rodri, but I think Enzo Fernandez can be a different answer to the Rodri situation. So before that, you have to understand how Enzo Maresca's system works, because his system is about creating numerical superiority in the first phase of build-up. So he needs a register to constantly find the free man and recycle always the possession. Now, most people will tell me, no, Enzo Fernandez is a box crusher. We've seen it with Chelsea, scores a lot of goals with Argentina, but you can clearly say that at Chelsea, he was playing as a box rusher because they had another incredible defensive midfielder in Enzo Fernandez. So there was no point of playing a defensive midfielder, a genuine defensive midfielder, and also a register. But for Argentina, look, when he plays at Argentina, he's always the deepest midfielder when Leandro Paredes is not on the field. So Enzo Fernandez, I'd agree that his best position is as a register, and Enzo Fernandez is clearly one of the best in the league at disguising the passes into advanced midfielders or even wingers. And I really think that Manchester City need exactly that profile, because yes, Elliot Anderson is incredible. He can do everything in the midfield. That's why they pay that price. And I think that pairing wouldn't be just symbolic. I think it would be tactically smart, because Elliot Anderson is not simply an athlete. He's also technically good. He's really good on the ball, and he's comfortable receiving under pressure. But that means also that opponents cannot simply man-mark Enzo Fernandez. If you man-mark Enzo Fernandez, Elliot Anderson becomes free. So in a world where Rodri would have made Elliot Anderson more safer, Enzo Fernandez actually makes Elliot Anderson even better, and it would also give Enzo Maresca, of course, two genuine progressive passers in the midfield. And we know how Enzo Maresca loves to have that control of possession from deep. So that really gives Enzo Maresca another tactical shift that really he would love to put in place. And you guys would think that, oh, why Enzo Fernandez? Why not Ayoub Wadi? But one thing about Enzo Fernandez, it's not that he just sits always the deepest. He doesn't. Sometimes he comes deep and play between the two center backs. Sometimes he drifts left, and sometimes Anderson would be the one being the deepest, and sometimes the fullbacks would invert, and these rotations are exactly what Maresca wants. Enzo would also change how Manchester City attack, not because he would always recycle possession, but because he would speed it up. If someone, let's say like Semenyo, does a run, Enzo already sees him before anyone else. Manchester City's fans knows it because they had a player like Kevin De Bruyne. If Haaland pulls a defender away, Enzo would always find him. If Anderson breaks the line, Enzo already know where the pass is. And that's why registers are so valuable. And a player like Enzo Fernandez, who combines those register qualities and a modern midfielder. And the comparison with Rodri comes with wanting the ball all the time. One thing about Rodri that I liked about him is that he constantly wanted possession. He constantly wanted the ball, even when he had every man on him. But Enzo shares the same personality. He always wants the ball, even when the team is struggling. That matters. City have lost that in Rodri, so they would need someone that will always demand possession in every time, and that has that also personality. And we have also seen that personality in big games, how it serves. The one thing I'd still want is possession behind them, because if the fullbacks also invert aggressively and the center backs are ahead of the ball when possession is lost, then transition could become a real issue, and that would be problematic. And we know that in terms of fullbacks, I think Matheus Nunes will start, who is actually an underrated player, and in terms of inverting, I think he will do it really well for Enzo Maresca. We've seen how Maresca loves to play Reece James in that kind of zone, so I think with a natural midfielder like Matheus Nunes, he will love it. And on the other side, you have a player like Ryan Aït-Nouri or even Nico O'Reilly, who is really great. Ryan Aït-Nouri had that natural pace to cover, so I don't worry. But Matheus Nunes doesn't really have that pace. Yes, defensively he's gotten better, but imagine you face a fast winger. Imagine you face like Bradley Barcola for Liverpool if he joins Liverpool. Then you would be in problems. That's why I think also fixing the right back role is a priority for Manchester City. And I have one name in my head that I'll do a video about it. If Manchester City fans want to see it, if you guys want to see it, just tell me. I'll make a video about it. So I really think that should be fixed, but I don't really stress about that, because again, if Maresca keeps that rest, solid defense, 3 defenders behind the ball at all time, I think that concern gets significantly reduced. And the defenders that Manchester City have also are top quality, so that I don't worry that much. If you have Gehi, for example, and Kushanov, who's actually one of the most underrated defenders in the Premier League, I'll keep saying it. The pace, physicality, everything that he has is incredible at that young age. Honestly, I think we should talk more about Kushanov. Yeah, I really think this wouldn't be really a flaw. I think it's just a detail that will be needed to be managed and not ignored. So people will call this the Rodri replacement, but I don't think it is what it is, because again, Rodri, you can't replace him right now in this modern. There is no player that is close to Rodri's level. But I think Elliot Anderson can be the signing that Manchester City paid for 116 million. I think he can be that player, and that's why signing Enzo Fernandez will be the smartest thing that Manchester City would do, because he would unlock Elliot Anderson. I want to know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make me know it by liking, subscribe for more football content, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.